welcome you to the Dorcas Show. That's the name of it. You know, Oprah has her thing, Dorcas has her thing. So we'll see how that one rolls. For lack of a better name, today it's called the Dorcas Show.
It's gonna be great. Like Oprah was original.
There we go. There we go. And I want to welcome you, Jason Word, to the show today. And thank you for the opportunity to talk with you today. As I told you before, from time to time, I do write for a magazine called The Urban Voice. And it's a magazine out of Las Vegas that is a monthly publication that gives voices to Black-owned entrepreneurs and businesses, small business owners, and in a big way, because there's a huge distribution. So a lot of people will be able to hear and learn about what Jason Word is doing. But I'm also very interested in the Tulsa, Oklahoma history back in the early 1900s when Black Wall Street was very prevalent. It brings me joy because of the strength, the pride, and the support that came from Black communities back then. And if any of our listeners have not had the opportunity to learn about Black Wall Street, go bless yourself, and so you can read and learn about that. I'm a very strong advocate of Black-owned businesses and trying to get folks to support us in our way. And hopefully this is my effort to give support to Black-owned businesses and small entrepreneurs and big-time folk like yourself, so that other people can learn about who you are and what you do, and so that I can learn as well. So thank you, first of all, for doing that.
Well, thank you.
So to get us started, give us a little foundation of who you are and what you do. Tell us the name of your company and what is your function in the company.
Well, my company is Word Enterprises, LLC, and it is the company that bought and owns the Save-A-Lot grocery stores in the Nashville area. Okay. We got started with that as that opportunity came up, because my other company, Word Properties, was looking to develop a neighborhood development in Nashville, north of Nashville. As we looked at different stores to partner with on that, the opportunity came up with Save-A-Lot to not just have them in the store, but to actually own the store. And then that kind of expanded to, hey, well, why not you just own all the stores in the Nashville area? And what I saw that as, one, the opportunity to really make a difference in a lot of the neighborhoods where these stores sit, but also just to set a certain standard of service that our stores have and will continue to have as long as we're operating them. Okay. Where the level was not what we have it at now, and we've seen a lot of tremendous response from the neighborhoods and the communities and what we've been doing and what we will continue to do. So that was the opportunity. And once it came up, it was like, you go to the Lord and you say, hey, is this what I'm supposed to do? If he doesn't tell you no, you go for it. And it's gone really well so far. So we're thankful.
And your title, your function within Word Enterprises is what?
I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Word Enterprises. So
okay.
I'm the I guess the face of it, but again, the people who really do the tough stuff are people like Rachel Jones, who's our Director of Grocery Operations. She is the engine for our grocery business, and Brian Ayton, who is our Nashville Director, is over the Nashville area. So those two, and we've got a lot of really, really tremendous people, like at the store manager level, and even the staff in the store. We've taken great pains to make sure we've got great people. So absolutely, I think it's gone a long way. So
Word Enterprises right now is owning the Save-A-Lots in the Nashville area?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. And for folks who don't know what Save-A-Lot is, tell us what that is.
Well, Save-A-Lot is a grocery. It's considered a discount grocery. It's like Aldi's is the largest discount grocery in the country. Save-A-Lot is number 2. It's like Burger King and McDonald's. So right now we are number 2 in the country as far as number of stores. So it's a major national brand. So it was definitely a tremendous opportunity to be able to go in and be part of a major brand like that. And they're doing a lot of things at their corporate level to really move the needle right now. So they were open to listen to the ideas that we had, and they've incorporated a lot of those things in what they're doing nationally. So it's just been so far it's been a great partnership.
Absolutely. So you kind of talked about why you started your business. Tell us a little bit more about why you started that. Why you wanted to do this.
Well, like I said, it was more the opportunity. Sometimes you don't find something; it kind of finds you. And this was the opportunity that instead of, hey, we're going to have this neighborhood, again, why not own some of the business that we're going to have in the neighborhood? So
Absolutely.
when that opportunity came up through Save a Lot, it was something I looked at, and it was like, I was kind of on the fence. But when the opportunity to own all of the stores in Nashville was brought to the table, that made me move on it more vigorously, because like I said, we can create our own standard of service. Whereas if we just had one, and then somebody else has one over here, somebody's got one over there, everybody's kind of doing their own thing, and there's no level of service. So someone could run a terrible store 10, 15 miles away, but it would reflect on our store, which, we may run it perfectly, but if somebody goes into this store 10 miles away over here and have a terrible experience, it's like, okay, they wouldn't come to our store if they were close, because I've been to one of those stores and it's terrible. Right. So that gave us an opportunity to own and command the market. So that's what made the deal a doable deal for me.
So have you run grocery stores before?
I hadn't. So the key for that was, step out on faith. But I've done business, and the opportunity was I was able to surround myself with a great team. This wouldn't have been doable if I wasn't able to put together a great team that I knew could handle it. And Rachel Jones, she was area manager for Save a Lot for probably 15 years.
Wow.
So she knows their business inside out. Not only does she know the grocery business, she knows Save a Lot business.
Yeah.
So the opportunity to get her and Brian and a lot of the great management team we already had in place made this a doable deal for me, because if I couldn't get the people with the knowledge that can do those things, then again, it probably wouldn't have been something I would have been interested in doing. But
so when they came to you and said, Mr. Word, we want you to run this Save a Lot, and then they came back and said, we want you to run all the Save a Lots, what did your head do? What happened?
I thought back to my grandmother, because my grandmother owned a grocery store.
Okay.
And, I grew up in a grocery store. So, again, I wasn't unaware of the grocery business. I had, knowledge of it, but not as an adult running it or running the company that runs it. So, I remember the days of going, when you're 4, 5, 6, growing up, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You go into the store and it's more like, oh man, I don't want to go to the store today. It's like it's a headache for a 7-year-old. But again, it's funny that I think about. I remember going up, and I tell people the story about being on a candy truck with my grandmother and having her and watching her haggle and negotiate with men, who at the time,
wow,
that was the business. Men were, even now, people talk about how certain industries are more male dominated. But my grandmother was this widowed woman from North Nashville who would go onto these trucks and haggle and wrestle with people over cost and numbers. And I guess everything happens for a reason, because it was, again, from what I do, even in real estate, a lot of it has to do with kind of the negotiating part of it.
Right.
And again, at the time, you don't know you're learning that from your grandmother, but
absolutely,
now looking back on it,
you got the grandmother whispers.
Exactly.
Did you say she owned a grocery store, or she owned a Save a Lot?
She owned a grocery store. It was called Watkins and Sons Grocery. It was our family store.
What was the name of it again?
Watkins and Sons Grocery.
Oh, okay.
So my grandfather bought this grocery store, and he had no knowledge of the grocery business, but he bought it in a land deal. And it was just there was a store attached to it. He was like, so he bought the store, but then he passed away and left my grandmother and 3 kids, 3 small children, with this grocery store. So she literally used this grocery store to raise them, send them all to college, and it was just an amazing thing. Again, of course, she had no knowledge of it, but she learned, and she made this work and raised all of her children and sent them to college on this grocery store business.
And here you are, how many years later, owning all the Save Lots in the Nashville area. Doing your thing. That's awesome.
She would be blown away. Now, I don't know if she'd be blown away or be like, what are you doing?
Nah, she'd be blown away. She'd be because I know a lot of your friends, myself, a lot of your peers are blown away that you are not that you couldn't do this, but that this is opportunity is here in your lap and you're the one who's doing it. So it's awesome. It's awesome.
It's been a blessing. It's been a blessing because there's so many things you can do with the food industry, with the grocery business that, in ways of giving back to the community. And, the times that we live in now, so many people have needed. So we've been able to have a lot of programs where we gave out food bags, given to different, community outreach programs. We've been able to do a lot of tremendous work. So something we wouldn't have been able to do without the grocery business.
So knowing that you're in business to do business, we know that.
Absolutely.
Okay. But what one thing would you want the public to gain from Word Enterprises as it relates to Save a Lot and what you're doing? What one thing would you want them to gain?
We want to know it's a new day at Save a Lot.
It's a new day at Save a Lot.
It's a new day at Save a Lot.
Okay.
The way that we did business here and wherever we may go, we're going to improve on that. And we've been fortunate. The community has rallied behind what we've been doing. We've given things to them that weren't there before. We brought back things that had been taken away. We're about the community, and not just with what we provide from a sales standpoint, but just the way we treat our neighbors in those communities. Every store, wherever one of our stores sit, has to speak to whatever that neighborhood is. In one spot it may be something different. In another spot it's we have more of this. But again, the common thread, the common denominator, has to be the service component and how we treat people in those neighborhoods. If that's reaching out, helping, kids. So we've got a lot of initiatives that are going to be coming up where we're going to be working with a lot of youth programs and things like that. We are the community's store. That's what our stores are set out to be. And however we can help, we're looking at a lot of different community outreach programs and youth programs where we're going to get involved, and we're going to be involved in our neighborhoods.
That's awesome. Okay, thank you. So you mentioned your employees. You mentioned a couple of the key players in your employees. How many employees do you have throughout your stores? Do you know?
Right now, we have around 60 to 70 employees currently.
Okay.
That number is constantly going up, and again, it's a tremendous opportunity.
And how many stores did you say?
We have 4 currently.
Okay.
But we're looking at new locations and some other opportunities that could be coming up to where that number may double or triple.
Okay, get ready, Grandmama. Here it comes. I love it. I love it. So with your employees, when you think about your employees, what is your greatest accomplishment as it relates to employee relations? And what is your greatest challenge as it relates to employee relations? So what's your greatest accomplishment? And then what's your greatest challenge?
I think it's probably the same thing. It's being accessible. I take pride in going into the stores, talking to people, talking to all the staff, meeting them, thanking them for their work and doing all those kinds of things. I've been told by some of our staff, like, hey, we never used to see any of the the corporate people that would come through. We've never seen them. If they did come, we weren't allowed to speak to them, and they wouldn't. They say they wouldn't really talk to us. So they're like, hey, you speak to us, and hey, they've been appreciative of that. But the biggest challenge is being able to kind of hedge that and not put myself in a position where I may overstep or say something that Rachel or one of the managers may not have wanted said, or hey, we're dealing with this person on this, so you have to be careful and make sure that I'm visible, but not too visible to where people would bypass whoever their direct manager is, because they see me regularly, and again, they feel comfortable enough to say, hey, I've got this issue, where I wouldn't want anybody to not feel comfortable enough to me to say, hey, Mr. Word, Jason, I've got this issue. Here's what's going on in my life. But bypass,
Right. I get you.
whoever their direct manager is, and not give them the opportunity to address or to help them in whatever they may need.
So you make yourself visible. That's good.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
good. Okay, think back to Black Wall Street.
Okay.
How do you think employee relations were viewed during the Black Wall Street era? How do you think employee relations were viewed back in the Wall Street era, Black Wall Street era?
Well, and the thing about Black Wall Street is it wasn't, they all had, there was different, levels to that. They were very wealthy, and then there were, some who had, more menial positions, even on Black Wall Street. So, I think that, the demographics and the dynamics are very similar to what we have today. But I think there was more of a communal feel. There was more community feel to what they were doing. It wasn't so much, hey, I work for this company. It was more of a, hey, that's my neighbor. That's so-and-so. People felt like they really knew each other.
Okay.
And, a lot of times today, I think, if you get to a certain level, people will, even in joking, you don't know us anymore. So, but, again, it's one of those where the connection has gotten lost somewhere along the way. And that's something I guess we could definitely do better at,
Why do you think that it's different now, though? I know, I agree with you. The connection has gotten lost.
Mhm.
But why do you think that's different?
And
what, let me ask you two questions. Why do you
Right.
think that's different now? And what can bring us back to that Black Wall Street mentality and instill it back into our community now? So why is it different? And then what can bring us back?
it's a society thing. It's just, you think about, even thinking about, holidays. Do people get together? Are the gatherings as big? Do people talk as much? Do people even see each other as much? Everybody's on their phone. It's, when I was younger, kids played a lot more. You go to the community centers now, and it's, a fourth of the people who were there when I was growing up. It used to be just, you had to get there early if you wanted to play. And now you can kind of go, you ask a kid, hey, what community center are people playing at now? They're like,
Wow.
hey, maybe over here. But, there's so many other outlets and avenues for people. It has created a disconnect from a personal standpoint. Everything is done on Instagram, or people don't really, people text more than they actually talk on the phone now.
Yeah, this is
So
true.
there's a social disconnect that's come just based on the progress and advancements that we have in technology. But I think getting back to that, it has to be a determined effort by, again, like with myself, I make it a point to go to the stores, go to each one of them, and like 2 or 3 times a week, and just go in, walk through, say hi to people. And it has to be, we have to have a concerted effort to do it, because if there's not a concerted effort, we'll all just kind of continue to go on, just kind of texting people. I'll text them, hey, how's it going at the store? And again, somehow send me a text back. But
so it sounds like you're saying you have to be very intentional when you're going in the stores. But when we start doing business, we, the consumer, needs to be very intentional as well.
Exactly.
To go to those places, to go to the Black-owned business places. And is that what you're kind of saying?
That's exactly it. And that's why you're so good at what you do. You say it so better than I do. But that's it exactly. And even in that, again, the Black-owned businesses, we have to be intentional in what we do, in providing that level of service, in reaching out, to those consumers. We're like, we can't just say, oh, I'm a Black business, all the Black people should shop with me.
Yeah.
That's not the case.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's not the case. We shouldn't rest on, hey, just because I'm Black, every Black person should shop with me. That shouldn't be the case. We shouldn't rest on that. We should put out a product and a service that is worthy of any race.
What is your mission statement? Does Save a Lot have a mission statement, and what is your mission statement?
Well, our mission statement is definitely summed up like this. Our goal is always and every day is to provide quality without compromise. So we don't want to give you something but you compromise something. We're not going to give you great pricing, but you have to compromise great service.
Okay.
So we're going to give you quality in every aspect of our business without compromising another aspect of our business.
I love that. Quality without compromise.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What do you figure is the most important factor of your company and why?
It's the people. It's the people. I'm sure a lot of business leaders would say that because it starts there and it ends there.
Okay.
The people aren't treating your customers in a good manner. Mm-hmm. You're going to hear about it. You're going to suffer on the bottom line.
Absolutely.
I can't tell you how many times I've gone into one of our stores and someone just, I guess, heard who I was or knew who I was. Said, I just have to tell you, your people are the nicest people.
That's awesome.
In any store I go to here.
Wow.
And I'm always appreciative. And like I said, that's why I go around and thank everybody as much as I can, because that can kill your business as much as it can be a positive.
Absolutely. The people. So what is your glory? What makes your chest puff up with pride when you think about Word Enterprise and the Save-A-Lot?
Well, it's the doing things that people either said would be hard or impossible, or that they didn't expect us to do as well. And we've done tremendously well. We're up. Our sales are up 10% over what they were as Save-A-Lot corporate stores, and no one would have expected that.
Really?
So just seeing the hard work and the determination of our team that has made these things happen, and being able to institute things that maybe some of the corporate people looked at and said, we don't know, that probably won't work. But to know that we had a plan, mm-hmm. believed in it, implemented it, and to see it to work and work well, it has definitely been one of those things that caused me to stick my chest out.
So you had some naysayers when you started to do this?
I wouldn't say naysayers, but we had ideas. And, sometimes, and again, to Save-A-Lot's credit, I think they realized that, hey, some of these stores, they're better off being operated in the areas that they're in, instead of them operating from St. Louis or wherever. Again, a guy that's in Nashville with staff that's in Nashville that understand that neighborhood, because our staff live in these neighborhoods that they work in. So they understand the people, they understand what they want. And so that's part of what we did, bring back a lot of programs that Save-A-Lot had taken out, added some things that weren't in there. And we've done tremendously well, just based on that premise. So, again, from that standpoint, I think Save-A-Lot has done a good thing by looking at that way. And it's allowed for people like us who, again, some of our moves have gone against what would have been a corporate move, but they've been really successful.
Okay. So what would you say, what is your biggest failure, and what have you grown from as a result of that failure? What is your biggest failure, and what did you grow? How did you grow from it?
Wow, that's a good question, Dorcas. My biggest failure, I work too hard. No,
well, I mean, sometimes that can.
What's your biggest flaw? I work too hard. No, I would say, and again, it's one of those things where my biggest failure was Save-A-Lot. We haven't really had a major failure with Save-A-Lot. We've been doing very, very well. Probably the biggest failure I've had has probably been, in the real estate realm, where, again, but that's, again, people have to realize this, they're going to be failures.
Yeah.
And you can't really look at them as failures per se. You're going to have setbacks in whatever you do.
Okay.
Again, I had a great mentor of mine named Charles Jones. I learned so much from him, and he's done so much for me. Between him and another mentor, Leland Watts, they just taught me, so much in everything I do. But they made me realize. And Charles said to me once, I said to him, Charles, everything you do works. I said, you never fail in it. He's like, son, let me tell you, I've been beaten by everybody from little old ladies to grown men. He said, it's just part of the business, part of being in business. And, there are times when, I just didn't get the best of the deal. Okay. And, you have to learn from that. And that's what I've always tried to do. Okay, how can I have negotiated that better?
Okay.
How should I have approached it? And I can't really look at anything as failure. It's just more one of those things where, okay, here's a lesson. What
Okay.
do I
So what lesson did you learn when you realized that I didn't negotiate that the best? What was that lesson that you learned?
Well, that lesson was, do far more research. And again, one of the, I guess, the biggest, early on, I would say this, early on in my real estate, career, as far as a developer and investor, I bought it from someone who I thought I could trust.
Okay.
And, they were not trustworthy. And,
Okay.
it led me to some difficulties. Again, it didn't pop up immediately, but they popped up probably couple of years down the line where, they were significant, where if I had known that, if I had done the proper research and not trusted this person, and it's not that you don't trust them, like they say, trust, but verify.
Yeah.
So I should have done more to verify some of the information that I was getting.
Okay.
But you were young, you're trying to get in, and you're like, okay, this is a good deal. I need to hurry up and, again, take your time, do your due diligence, and make sure you crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's, and it'll save you down the line. So that's something I always do now. I make sure I've got everything lined up. And one of the things that I'll pass this on in this conversation that Charles Jones told me, he said, son, you have to be just as willing to walk away from a deal as you are to take it.
Wow.
And
very good.
I
Charles is a smart man.
if I ever write a book, I'm going to write a book called Lunches with Charles and Leland. And I'm going to pour all their wisdom that they gave me into this book.
Very awesome. Okay, I want you to think back to Black Wall Street again.
Okay.
And we talked about the community part of it. But why do you think they stuck together during that time, other than the obvious of white and black and yada, yada, yada? Why do you think they stuck together to build this entity called Black Wall Street?
And, that's a twofold thing. Like you said, the obvious, of course, and again, the society and the circumstances that they lived under made that pretty much a necessity, because again, Tulsa was separated by a train track. So pretty much they had to live over here. You couldn't live on the other side. It was literally a train track that separated black from white in Tulsa at that time. But the thing about it is this: I think once people see something is possible, it encourages them.
Okay.
So if someone sees Dorcas, that, hey, Dorcas can write. Dorcas can, write for a major magazine. She can do interviews. She can have YouTube channels. She can do all these things. It gives them hope. It gives people hope. So what that allows is for people to come to you and say, hey, how did you do this? And then if you're someone who accepts them with open arms, now you start to bring people in. So once people see your success, they're more inclined to, latch on to you and say, hey, help me do this. And if you're that type who is open to giving that help, again, you're gonna see your umbrella and the number of people that are under it increase, astronomically. And I think that's what happened there when, you had a lot of these black successful people like O.W. Gurley and people like that, who were doing these things, young black men at the time. You look at that and go, wow, hey, I'd love to get to know him. And, again, he was that type who would open his arms to people, and J.B. Stratford and all those guys. They would go, hey, let us help you. We're doing these things. Absolutely. People would naturally gravitate to them. And, again, in that time, it was far more easy for people to stay together and,
Okay, so the crab mentality wasn't in there, we're pulling each other down. A lot of times now we do see a lot of businesses and we pull each other down often. But you're saying back in Black Wall Street, it was more of open my arms and let me tell you what we're doing. I don't mind sharing with you and all that kind of stuff.
Right, because it was like, it was a community fight for so many things, for equality, for justice, for prosperity. Everybody just kind of joined together. They talk about how the times when your neighbor could, if you were acting up out in the street, they could whoop you and send you home to your mom where she would whoop you.
Yes.
It was more of that. People were more connected in so many ways that it made those kinds of things a lot easier. Whereas now, like I said, everything is done, through text message where,
Yeah.
it's, hey, nobody better not speak to my child. And,
Yeah.
it's a different dynamic, and, parents get younger, and,
That's great.
all of those things come into play. So
Okay.
I don't think it's impossible. I just think certain dynamics make it harder.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a mentality.
Yeah.
That's why I talk about the Black Wall Street mentality. It's the mentality that we have to get back into in order to make it valuable.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so there are all kind of grocery stores around the area. Kroger, all these other folks, Publix, Aldi's.
Yeah.
What makes your business different from the others? And you may have already said it when you said we are community based, but Aldi's is a community based as well. Okay, so what makes yours different than all the others?
Well, our goal is always to be the best save a lot. We're, again, there's a lot of respect to a lot of companies. Never want to disparage any of them. A lot of respect, a lot of good people.
Yeah.
What we do is we feel we have the best prices, bar none. So we start from that platform. So we're going to give you the absolute best prices, and we're going to give you the absolute best service. Where things like, if you go to Aldi's, they're not going to bag your groceries for you. We're going to do that. So we're going to give you better pricing. We're going to bag your groceries, and we're going to give you the things you need when you need them. And if we don't have them, we're going to be accessible to you to tell us what we don't have, what we need, what you want, and we're going to drive our business based on being what that neighborhood needs, and whatever that means. If that's bringing in a certain product, if that's bringing in a different service in our stores, we're going to provide those things. And if we do that, I think if we stick to that mantra of providing the service along with what we feel are the best prices in town, I think we'll continue to be successful. Like I said, our the margins in the grocery business, they're small. And to have our numbers be up 10% is a significant number in that business. So if we're doing that, and we plan to keep moving the needle, we're going to start doing modernizations in all our stores. So our stores are going to look like brand new, and we're going to have the latest everything. We're going to change paint, we're going to change flooring. They're going to look like completely different stores. Okay. And we're going to drive the needle through the things we add to the community.
And when did you take these stores over?
October 2020. Yep.
And from October 2020 to now, you've already seen a 10% increase in all of your stores. That's very phenomenal. That's great. That's great.
So we took over, I think, October 10th.
October 10th. All right. So what would make somebody on the elevator skip their floor to get off and ride longer with you just to hear about Word Enterprises? What would make them want to keep riding?
Well, I've been told, I like to think, when I talk about it, we're talking about Word Enterprise, Word Products, anything that we're doing. I speak from a place of passion and true belief in what I'm saying. So, I think that causes people to want to hear, and it makes what we're talking about interesting because, again, you can tell when somebody's just kind of, talking points to you, or somebody really believes what they're saying. And in anything I do, if I've set my hands to it, I absolutely believe in it. Okay. And so when I'm speaking on these things, just like speaking about the stores, to speak about how we're up 10%, our traffic is up, our sales are up, our basket counts are up, everything is up. It's very gratifying. It's a great feeling. And I love to speak about it because it just speaks to what our great team is doing. So when I can speak about these awesome people that we have, it's a great thing. So I think, people like to hear that. I like to hear great stories. So,
okay.
I'm a glass half full kind of guy. So, I'm usually going to be pitching from that platform. So most of the time, if you want to hear a good story or have something uplifting to talk about, if you're on the elevator with me, that's probably what you're going to get. I get it. We have to address the needs of the people. And wherever our stores sit, that is always our goal, to be what the people in our neighborhoods need.
Okay. Okay. And I think I know the answer to this next question. What makes you strong and your company strong? Or is that one thing within the other? And what I've heard you say throughout this whole interview is it's the people and it's the customer base and it's the relationships that are built with those three things. Now, did I look at it wrong or is that pretty much right?
No, no, you looked at it exactly right. Of course, God has blessed us.
Yeah.
That's one.
Yeah.
So we can go one, we go people 1A, but God's
Okay.
good.
Glad you said that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been the blessing for us. They say God looks out for children and fools.
Right.
I'm probably too old to be considered a child anymore, so I guess that we know which category
One or two.
Yeah, we know where I fall. But he's been good, and he's looked out for us. And again,
Okay.
without question, that's the greatest thing that I can say is driven our business.
I got you.
Those
Okay.
blessings. And again, like I say, after that, it's the people, because we're in the people business. Make no mistake. We can say it's grocery, but again, we're in the people business. And
I am just so glad to hear you push that because it's such, for me as a consumer, it is such a challenge to find people who run stuff that really care about the consumer. You call companies and you get put on hold 15 times and then they drop the call and oops, you got to start all over again. Or you go in a grocery store and something's not right or whatever, and they don't care. People just don't seem to care anymore.
Right,
So
right.
I am thankful to hear you talk about being this caring person that has this company that offers a service that will give back to the community with that caring attitude behind it. That is so crucial.
Well, and I appreciate that because again, and like I said, again, that's with a lot of respect to a lot of great companies. Because again, I'm sure there's a line there where you okay, when you get to a certain level, you can tend to lose that personal touch, and that's what we want to always be on guard for, making sure we're not getting to a level to where, hey, we can't address our customers
All right.
where they are.
Yeah.
And that's what we always want to be able to do. And if we ever get to a point where, hey, we're getting to a point where we can't do that, then we'll need to stop right there.
Right.
I would never want to get big enough to.
Folks need to go shopping and save a lot so they can get that customer service. That first of all, customer service, because people are willing to pay more money for better service.
Exactly.
But if we can come to Save a Lot with your mission and get the quality food, lower price, but great customer service, how else can you lose? So there's your commercial from me.
Thank you. And again, I've tried a lot of stuff. We've got all kind of products. And like I said, I'm surprised at some of the stuff. Like I'll say this, I'm not a ranch dressing eater, but if you come and you try the Save a Lot ranch dressing, I guarantee it's the best. And I'm not it's the best hilarious. I had. And I'm not a ranch dressing fan. I'm a honey mustard guy. But this Save a Lot's ranch dressing.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay, two more questions I got for you. Okay. I think. I want you to think again back to the community of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and think about our history then as it relates to Black Wall Street, when in the early 20th century, African Americans had to create a self-sufficient, prosperous district. What do you feel that part of history has done for your present status, business status?
Well, I mean, history it makes us who we are. And even if we start to drift away from it, there's still always going to be that in us. So I grew up with that. Again, my grandmother was a person who ran a neighborhood grocery store. So what I saw was it was kind of like our own, in for lack of a better word, it's our own little Black Wall Street because that's what the neighborhood was. But all of these people in the neighborhood would come to my grandmother's store.
Okay.
So they would patronize it and they would come and they would shop there. And so it was a community feel that existed there that I saw that I'm sure had to be the same kind of feeling you got there on Black Wall Street. It's like, hey, we shop with Miss Watkins over there. We go to Miss Watkins grocery. where they couldn't go across the street. But again, I'm sure there was a great percentage of them that even if they could have, they wouldn't have.
I got you.
Because, hey, this is our neighborhood, and they took great pride in their neighborhood.
Okay.
And that's really part of our mission, you know, with J Word Enterprises and Save a Lot is we want people to have great pride in their neighborhood. And by making our stores something that people can be proud of, we can help add to that. If we add to the neighborhood, we add to the sense of pride in the neighborhood. Now people really start to feel like that sense of community again, where, hey, I saw so-and-so at the store. They see each other at our store. It becomes more of a community place than just, hey, we're going down here to get some eggs.
Okay. Okay. Very good. And if you don't mind, how old are you?
49.
49. You 49? I'm just playing.
That's the curse of me. I'm telling you.
49 years young and making a way. Is there anything that I have not asked that you feel absolutely necessary for the world to know about J Word Enterprises, Jason Word, or Save a Lot, or all three?
What I will say is, and I'm sure I've said this before, we are going to be in whatever community we are in. If J Word Enterprise shows up in your neighborhood with a Save a Lot, just know that store and the people who are working in it are there for you. And we are open and available, and we'll do whatever is necessary to make your store in your neighborhood a place where you feel comfortable, welcome, and want to come back. And if you ever are not, reach out to whomever, the manager, and someone will get to me, and we'll make it right, whatever it may be. So, and again, I want to thank everybody, and definitely in Nashville and wherever we may go, for the support and turning out to support us, and we greatly appreciate it.
Okay, very good. That's it. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. May you always follow God's lead as you work to grow your business. And hopefully this will do a good thing for you as you move forward. Very proud.
I appreciate you. You know, like I said, I grew up watching people like you. So it goes without saying that, you know, people like you shape people like me. So it's good to see you doing all that you're doing and being as continued successful as you've always been.
Well,
it's just a tremendous blessing to have people like you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. One day I'll be somebody, you know, we'll see what happens. Like you said the other day, I'm just a little man in it. So we're just trying to get where we want to go.
Oprah's out. They need the Dorcas.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you. And thank you for your time.
Thanks, Dorcas. I appreciate you.
All righty. Bye-bye.